What could President Trump mean for India and for the world, in your view, if it does come down to that?
Rahul, I think first, before I respond to that particular question and try to warm myself up in this freezing temperature, let me just, observe something from what Ravi just mentioned. In any other part of the world, if you had the developments that you've seen in America in the last 6 to 8 months, cases being filed against the opposition candidate making outrageous statements and literally abusing everyone and every region of the world at some point, you would have said this is a nutcase democracy, this is a sham, this is not democracy, right? Can you imagine in any other part of the world an opposition candidate having 20 cases filed against him in the year when you're campaigning, and America saying, "Oh no, fine, it's
And
so
calling
I,
for insurrection at Capitol Hill.
and calling for insult." Look, it's a spectacle rather than a democratic process right now in the US, and none of us should be taking this lightly. I think it forebodes a number of issues. The most important is the durability of America to remain a viable and influential actor in the world affairs in the future. I think that's the first big thing we all have to realize, that a world without a rational, strong, sensible, influential America is upon us, and we have to start looking at plan Bs. All of us have to start thinking about it. So I think what this election tells us is that we need plan B, and I think that is my response to you. Now, my response to you is that there are three sets of countries, many more, but three sets of countries in terms of how they are assessing the elections as we go forward. First, many who rely on America for security, for their economics, for their relevance, are worried, and they should be. As governments change, and as governments change in this dramatic way with very differing worldviews, they are likely to be most affected. Many of them depend on America for many of these important national considerations: security, economics, and of course the voice and agency they have in international platforms. Now, there are a second set of countries who actually are enjoying this. They are actually seeing this as a way of claiming the space that America is inadvertently vacating. So there are many who see this moment as a moment to actually claim those spaces, make themselves more heard, make themselves more integrated into communities that would have otherwise preferred to be somewhere else. So, and that's the second set of nations. The third, and I think those are possibly countries such as India, who are carving out new arrangements, who are building resilient mechanisms to manage the ebbs and flows of American politics. So you see a concerted effort by many of the emerging powers to actually not take sides or root for one particular outcome, but rather build your own capacities and capabilities and partnerships and friendships and alignments, so that you can, in many ways, ride the storm. Now, India is perhaps one amongst a handful, and I'm being a little optimistic here, is amongst those rare countries who are impervious to regime change in America. If I could use that word that Americans used for third world countries in the last century. So when a regime change happens in America, we would largely be impervious, because it is a broad based relationship where you have both parties agree on at least the core of the relationship. Of course, the progressives have their own agendas, and the mercantilists have their own grouse with India. Both of them have some bits of grouses, but largely the trunk of the relationship has remained unchanged and has only grown and become stronger in the last 20 years across presidents, across prime ministers on both sides, right? And I think India would have to continue to focus on building the institutions that will drive the relationship forward, and not necessarily worry about the politics that is going to be defining the sound bites. We have to work with the intelligence folks, the military folks, the business folks. We have to work with the regulators. We have to work with the green transitions folk. We have to navigate the IRA and its implications on us. We have to work with them on creating global governance for technology and AI and all other disruptive innovations that are happening. So I think our relationship is now far more nuanced and deeper than an election